Well, hello, everyone out there. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to Center Court. Our session today, we'll talk about Masters in Business Analytics, specifically at Emory University's Goizueta Business School. We have two great people with us to talk about it and to tell us all the nitty-gritty detail that you really want to know if you have any interest in business analytics at all. We have Christina Lopez, who's Associate Director of Graduate Admissions at Goizueta. And we have Jessica, we'll call her Jessie Zames, right? I
Hmm.
guess that's after like Jesse James.
I know, I know.
uh, and Jessie's in the program. She will graduate in 2025. She went straight into graduate school after having completed her undergraduate years at Emory as well. Loved Atlanta, didn't want to get away. So she's earning her master's in business analytics. Christina, let's start with you. Give us a little overview of the program itself.
I would love to. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with you all. We're really excited to share our Master's in Business Analytics program here at Emory Goizueta Business School. So, wanted to just start very briefly introducing Emory as a whole, just in case our viewers may not be as familiar with our institution. So, we are located here in wonderful Atlanta, Georgia. I was just sharing with John prior to when we went live. We are currently in the fall season, so we're loving the weather right now. Emory is home to approximately 15,000 students total, and about half of that population is in our graduate and professional schools. And so that includes, of course, our Goizueta Business School, where our MSBA program is housed. Emory is a top research institution, a top institution in the country, really, and really emphasizing that rigor and collaboration and diversity. So this is a really good segue into our MSBA program because we are certainly a part of the bigger picture of being a part of the Emory network. So our MSBA program was founded by Dr. Rams Jalapa, who was a data scientist, industry leader, and still on faculty as well. And the goal of this program is to really be able to intersect data, business, and technology. Think of it as a Venn diagram where our program is going to be that overlap of all three. So the goal of this program is to really utilize data and technology, but you're being taught by business faculty here in the business school through a business lens. A big standout of our program, I got to mention it's a 10-month program. So it's quick enough where you can really get in and get your work through and get your hands in on all that you need to learn. But it's long enough to really engage and be a part of this unique curriculum. So within the 10 months, apart from the opportunities to, of course, take the coursework that you need, towards the second half of the program, our unique aspect is our practicum experience. And this is where our MSBA students have a chance to work with real industry leaders and companies across the country. They come with pretty messy data and pretty complex issues along with this data. And it's up to these student teams to utilize all the knowledge they've been able to gain through technology, data, and business to then come up with a solution. So they present their findings, they have a whole deck, they have a presentation, and it really does kind of capture that hands-on experience that you have to be prepared for stepping into these real scenarios once you jump into your career.
And we should point out this is a STEM designated program. So for international applicants who apply and get in, you have the assurance if you end up in a STEM related job, which of course you would, if you're majoring in business analytics, to have 3 years work experience in the US. And that means three shots at an H-1B visa to work permanently here, which is another added benefit of the program. Who do you think it's best suited for?
So this is an interesting question because it can be somewhat of a broad field, and you'll hear about Jesse's plans momentarily to better understand exactly what I'm talking about. But I would say it's a mixture of you definitely want to be interested and passionate about data. You want to be engaged in that process and but it can still be applied into a real business setting. So it's technical enough where you could be a data scientist. That's how rigorous and technical the program is. But it's also broad enough and also housed in our business school where you could be like an analyst or a consultant within the business space. And again, Jessie will speak on what her future experience will look like. We welcome all academic backgrounds into this program, so you don't have to be a computer science major or a data science major. However, we do need our incoming classes to have that quant experience and abilities. That coding is going to be incorporated in your curriculum every single day. So I would say for those that are really passionate about data and technology, really understanding how that applies to finding those solutions for business problems is a perfect sense for this program is all about.
So both quants and poets are welcome in the program, right, Christina?
There you go. What a good coincidence.
Now, we do have a quant in the house, however, because Jesse majored in quantitative sciences with an econ concentration. So, Jesse, why don't you tell us why you pursued the degree in the first place?
Yeah. So as you said, I started my undergrad career at Emory. I spent 4 years here and really loved it. I do have that technical background, but I always did find that there were some gaps in my business knowledge. I never went to the business school. I took a couple classes, but I never got the full, I guess, business picture. I always found when I went to internships, I felt like people in the business spoke this kind of language. I'm like, how do I start speaking like that? Um, I am kind of in a unique situation though. I have a job that I signed before I joined the program. So for me, this is really all about learning and becoming as the best data scientist or analyst that I can be to bring all this knowledge into the workforce. I'm planning on going back to New York City. I'm from New Jersey, but going to New York. I'm going to be working at Estee Lauder Companies, joining their CEO Global Presidential Associate Rotational Program
That
as
sounds
a
very
data
impressive.
analyst. I know, huge mouthful, but yeah, I'll be joining that rotational program. It's an 18-month program, and at the end, I'll be an associate manager. So for me, I really do want to build my leadership skills in the data field as well as really getting my hands dirty with the technical stuff again. Um, I did have a lot of the background, as I said, but I'm learning a lot right now, and I'll talk about it further. But my resume, there's just so much I can add to it. My issue now is just getting it to one page. So yeah.
So, that's great. And the fact that you already have a job lined up makes it very comfortable for you because you're going to graduate when in
Yes.
May of
Yeah,
next
yeah.
year? Okay.
Mhm.
That's terrific. So what's the learning experience been like for you?
Yeah, it's been great. As Christina said, we're coding every day, super technical. I'm currently in 5 classes. I'm in Intro to Business Analytics, which you're learning machine learning, artificial intelligence, statistical techniques, but learning which techniques to use in which business scenarios, which I've never learned before. Then I'm taking prescriptive analytics, which is another one of our it's half a semester, so it's a little bit of a quicker pace. But this is doing some optimization in Excel and Python. We have managing big data, which is data warehousing, ETL processes, SQL. I mean, the list goes on what we're doing in that class. And then we have AI and machine learning, more of just an in-depth view of the machine learning techniques. We're just an example, we're doing neural nets right now. We've done decision trees, k-nearest neighbors. Um, and lastly, we have data visualizations, which is really just helping us take the insights that we got from the data and putting it in good visualizations. We're learning what bad visualizations look like and what would be the most effective in a business situation. And it's good to mention there's a big emphasis on AI right now. There's a new concentration that I'm very interested in taking next semester, which would be AI in business. So for that concentration, I would be taking deep learning, network analytics, and digital analytics and causal inference. So I really do want to become more comfortable with AI as it's so important right now. And I
Sure.
really think that next semester I'll get to do that all.
So far, do you have a favorite course?
I would say my favorite right now would be Intro to Business Analytics. I've learned a lot of the machine learning techniques before with my undergrad in the college, but I think this just made it much more digestible and approachable. I really do think I have a really good understanding of when to use which technique. I feel confident that I can explain it when I'm working and that I can implement it in real life.
Now, you went straight from undergrad to graduate school. So the program accommodates what we call pre-experience students.
Yeah, yeah.
But I wondered if you also considered any other degrees, maybe even an MBA.
I I'm usually more someone who would want to go the technical route or very technical. So an
Yeah.
MBA for me was not something I considered, especially I don't have work experience right now, and I think that's super important when going into an MBA. I considered Emory has a bunch of 10-month programs. I considered the Masters of Analytical Finance, but I decided I don't really love finance, so I think the MSBA was a great middle ground for me.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Absolutely. Christina, what would you say differentiates this program from other Masters in Business Analytics programs?
Yeah, I think in addition to that practicum experience, which again is towards the end of the program where you're really being able to apply all that you've learned in a real scenario. It's not a simulation. It's not something that's sort of made up. These are actual clients, and you're serving as consultants to these organizations. In addition to that, I would jump on what Jessie just mentioned. She mentioned concentrations that she's interested in pursuing for the next semester, which again, it's a 10-month program, starts in July. Students graduate in May, and that would be our tracks. So in the first half of the program, everyone takes these core set of classes. The ones that Jessie just mentioned just now are part of that process. It's really building the framework for what it means to be in this program. But then in the second half, you can really start to customize it a little bit more and give it a bit more direction based upon your interest or your career goals. So for our program in particular, that I think is a really big standout is our 4 tracks. So Jesse mentioned one as our AI and business analytics. Then we have our general business analytics track, as well as our marketing analytics and our supply chain analytics. What I think is really interesting is that these tracks actually increased over time. They started with a couple and then sort of grew over time based on the demand of the market, the demand of what employers are looking for, and even just the demand of what students were wanting. So while we do have our curriculum really set in stone and it's proven to be really successful within the 10-month of the program, we're still open enough to hear what students want and need and what the industry is looking for as well. So these tracks really allow for specific coursework in specific areas based upon interest and goals and the like.
And I'm assuming the AI and business track is your newest track, right?
Yes, but actually our supply chain is even newer than that. So
Oh,
in
wow.
a way, I'm kind of bragging. I'm like, I think we were ahead of AI just a little bit. Now it's everywhere, all over, and I'm really happy that we were on the cusp of it just before it started to blow up. So I think our ear is always on the ground.
And I'm imagining that really, one of the landmark pieces of the program is the hands-on experience piece that we're talking about. I wonder if you could give us an example or two with a company name of like a project that students may have worked on.
Yeah, so I actually had the great opportunity to sit in on some of these sessions. So I should mention that at the end of this practicum experience, the students then present their findings to the actual client and go through from the problem to the data that they were given to how they look at the data to their solution. So I was able to actually sit in on a few presentations for that. Paramount Plus was one that I sat in on that I thought was really interesting. Another one was a restaurant that they were trying to figure out why their foot traffic was decreasing significantly. And the way they were tracking the foot traffic was just kind of messy. Again, the data was not really clean or clear. And the students were kind of handed this to say, can you help us figure out why our foot traffic is lower, or and also how we can maybe use this data to have a solution for increasing the overall bottom line of the business. So it was really interesting to see this panel of 4 students plus the employer right next to them presenting to this whole group of people. They had a clean deck on from start to finish what the project looked like, what their findings were, and what their recommendations were. And I think above everything else is that these recommendations were taken into consideration and even applied. It wasn't just like a project project where it's like, again, it's a simulation or meant to be a
Mhm.
practice. These
Right.
employers took it and said, we love this, we're going to actually do it. So that's just a good example of what that project looks like.
So Jesse, you will fall into this project mode probably right after the new year, right?
Yeah, yeah. We're
Do you know what
getting
project you'll have?
no, we're getting presentations in November where the companies will come in and we get to I think we get somewhat of a say which one we
Oh,
would
that's
want to go
cool.
to, but then we get assigned to groups. So I'm excited for
Right.
that.
That's fantastic. So far, what are some of the key highlights of the program, do you think? I'm sure your practicum will be a highlight without question. But what so far has really resonated with you?
Yeah, I would say my professors and the class size right now has been one of my favorite parts. I only have about 35 people in my cohort. I mean, our program's split into cohorts, so it's small class sizes. Professors know you on a first name basis. They're super accessible after class, and they really just want you to succeed. I give an example in managing big data. Some assignments you sometimes you need to be up a little later, not all the time. It was one night, but I sent a message. Our Professor Garg, has a Discord server. We can ask all of our questions. I asked my question at 1 o'clock in the morning. I get a response a minute later from Professor Garg, and I was like, I didn't even realize it was him. But I mean, the professors are with you the whole way. They understand what we're going through, but they also do want to push us to make sure that we're learning the most that we can. And the program office as well. They really want to hear our opinions, what's been going right, any issues we're having, and they're really eager to solve them. So that's been a major highlight for me, just getting to know the professors in the program office super well.
Well, a 1 a.m. response and not from a chat bot is
Yeah.
quite impressive. Now, Christina, what kind of career aspirations are fit into the program? Obviously, this is a degree that has been in high demand by companies for quite a few years. The placement rates on these programs are exceptionally high. What kind of jobs do people take?
That's a great question. So I agree with you. The demand is very high, and it's also a skill that is require a master's degree like what we have. It requires that technical ability, but being able to apply it in a business sense. So it can be anything from your traditional data scientist, if that's what someone is really passionate about, to an analyst, a data analyst. Marketing analytics is also on the rise as well. I was talking to an alum a few weeks ago who was a marketing analyst at Home Depot, and he said, everything I learned in the program, I use in my role every single day, and I would not be able to survive in my role without the knowledge that I gained from the MSBA program. Analytical consulting is another big one. Consulting's attached to a lot of different things, but it's really being able to connect that love for analytics and data, but keeping in mind that it's still within that business space. So we really see it represented across many different industries.
Right. Yeah, that's fascinating. And obviously, there's probably not a company in the world that isn't in need of figuring out how to use its data more intelligently, which is why I think the demand for this degree is in fact so high. Christina, I wonder if you might also talk about the class profile. So how many people get into the program? Is there more than one cohort? And what does that look like? Are all of them pre-experienced, or do some people have some work experience that they enter the program with?
A really good question. It's a blend, a little bit of everything. So in terms of overall class profile, we welcome anywhere from 75 to a little over 100 students each cohort each year. The makeup of the class is about 60% of our students come straight out of undergrad like Jesse, across the country, some from Emory, some from other institutions, and then the other approximate 40% have some work experience. So usually the work experience falls around a 1 to 3 year mark. So We welcome again different academic backgrounds and also experiences because it does make for an interesting class dynamic when you have someone who has a lot to bring to the table as a young professional and equally someone who has a lot to bring to the table as someone right out of undergrad. The discussions, the projects, the engagement and connections you have make for a really diverse class experience. So we're excited about our profile each year.
And I should just let everyone know too that, if you were to consult the website, you'd find some really great information on the program. It's very deep, including the kinds of employers who've hired these graduates: Amazon, Bain, Deloitte, Delta, EY, IBM, Home Depot, which Christina just mentioned, Target, McKinsey, Merck. Really, a lot of very big brand name companies that have recruited your students. Now, Jesse, was there a surprise in the program for you? Because coming in from Emory undergrad, you probably had a good idea of what you were getting into. But were there surprises?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, just being at Emory, you do hear a lot about the Goizueta reputation, the MSBA reputation, and I would say a lot of it is true. Like it's going to be a difficult program, but I mean, it's 10 months. You're learning as much as possible. You're going to leave the program so much better than you came into it. Um, I did, I was a little nervous about, I know business school can feel a little competitive sometimes, like people fighting against each other, but I haven't noticed that at all. And I think that's been a big surprise for me. Our program's super collaborative. Everyone wants everyone else to succeed. People will go out of their way to help everyone else to make sure that people understand what's going on. So I've really enjoyed just the environment and culture of just helping others with my classmates.
And the other thing about these programs is that, as we mentioned before, they do attract both poets and quants. So, Jesse, as a quant in the classroom, I'm sure you're helping to some degree the team members that you have who are on the poet side and may need a little more help with some of the quantity stuff in the program, right?
Yes, yes. And I will say, if you don't have that much quantitative experience, technical experience, I say it's not that big of an issue as long as you have the mindset that you're ready to work and put in the hours to understand what's going on. And you have a lot of time over the summer with the boot camps and a lot of just the data camp stuff that they're sending you. You have a lot of time to get ahead with this stuff. And again, as long as you have the mindset that you're going to work hard, I don't think anyone should have an issue with this program.
Now, you come from out of state and you have spent more than 4 years of your study time in Atlanta. For people who don't know what Atlanta is like and what the campus is like, give us a description.
Yeah, Atlanta's beautiful. The major city I have to compare everything to is New York City. So I wouldn't say it's like that at all in a good way. I mean, there's nature around you. Food is amazing. There's so much to do. I tell people all the time that I'm so lucky that I got to go to a school where Atlanta was the city because every weekend you can do something else, go out to restaurants, the Beltline. It's really nice. Like I think Atlanta is a very underrated city, especially to people who are from the Northeast.
Right.
And people are so friendly. I mean, compared to New Yorkers and people from New Jersey, like everyone is just a lot happier, it seems.
That's true. Once you get out of that whole Northeast corridor, Boston, New York, Washington, you do encounter people who smile a lot more, I think.
Definitely.
Christina, what's your advice to someone who thinks that this is something that would be good for them and that this aligns with their passions and their interests and their aspirations for a career?
Something I always say when someone is asking me about fit or preparation is when you're applying for a program, especially an MSBA program with us, I always say take that time to reflect. Before you even start drafting your essays and, grabbing your recommenders, think about what excites you and your why. Think about what drives you and how that all connects to what you hope to do in the future. So in this particular case, are you excited about data? Is it something you're interested in unpacking more? Do you plan to utilize that in some ways in your future in a business type of space? And so I think once you're able to do that, then you can really start to narrow down the specifics of a program. For us, it could be the practicum experience. It could be the tracks that we talked about. It could be the length of time being 10 months and all that you're able to accomplish within that period of time. But I think the first question someone should ask themselves is, what is driving me and what is my why? And that's going to sort of lead into the research of the program that's the best fit. So of course, I'm going to say our program is the best and we're the strongest and all these great things. But I think at the end of the day, when you think about your best fit, it all goes back to making those connections and connecting those dots to your why, your past, your present, and what you hope your future will look like with a program like an MSBA.
Now, what's the application process like? I know you do grant waivers for a GMAT or a GRE, but you probably prefer the test given the quantitative nature of the program.
Yeah, I would say we do offer test waivers, but we do have criterias for that, and they are pretty high for that very reason. You are
Yeah.
correct with that, with
Oh,
the
yeah.
quant element being at the core of of this program. We certainly need to see that that is there before even entering into the program. There are options for test waivers based on certain criterias, STEM versus non-STEM, and like a minimum GPA. But generally speaking, yes. But outside of the test scores, within the application itself, there's also a self-assessment that we ask students to complete around their coding knowledge. We would like to know, do you have Python, R, and SQL, which are kind of those top three that are absolutely
Mhm.
necessary to survive. And then, any others that you might have worked in your work or past career. We also look for those quants. So no matter what your academic background might be, what quant classes have you taken, and how well did you do in them as well, in addition to the overall GPA. Aside from those more technical and quant sides of things, it's a pretty standard requirements with the recommendation letters being two of those, your written essays. I think ones that make people squirm a little bit is our video essay requirement, but I try to ease any concerns there and say it is not a test, you're not coding live, you're not doing anything that's graded. It is truly just another casual, in my mind, human space to just share more about yourself. It's a quick 60-second video that you submit through your application. Of course, you have your standard transcript and resumes. And one thing I want to emphasize before closing out on this point is our process is very holistic. So we're not going to just look at one or two items and make a determination based on those one or two things. It is a holistic process based on everything that's submitted. We really do unpack and deeply review everything. So if a candidate has concerns about one or two things, I still encourage them to apply and, provide context behind these things, but also highlight other areas that you're strong, how you would be a good fit for the class, how we are a good fit for you. So those are kind of our standard requirements. And certainly we have our rounds and deadlines as well throughout the cycle.
Great. And you have a round two coming up in January, I see.
We sure do. So it's open right now.
Indeed. Um, so let's go back to Jesse. I want to ask you, is there something you wish you had known before you entered the program that you now know and you could share with other people who might be interested in getting a master's in business analytics?
Yeah. I think I was really nervous before I came. Like I was really worried about how like hard or that this program was supposed to be. I mean, I'm in it now and I can tell you I'm someone who really worries about the work I have, time management and all of that. It's really not that bad. I think that was the biggest deterrent for me to like fully commit to joining this program is how hard I thought this was going to be. Totally doable. Seriously. Like I wish someone told me that before I apply, like before I really push that accept button, because again, it was one of my big anxieties. But if you have the work ethic, and again, I think the effort you put in now, you're just going to be so much better once you leave. And I'm like, Dr. Shalap, who started the program, like he does say, just wait till you see your resume, and he's so right. Like honestly, I just know so much more than I thought I would in like 3 months that I've been here.
Yeah, that's amazing. And if you had advice for people like you before you entered the program, what would your advice be?
I would say definitely practice Python, R, SQL. The more comfortable you are with it before you get into the program, the easier everything's going to be. Again, with ChatGPT, the barrier to entry is lower than ever. But again, you need to know what you're doing. So definitely practice those technical skills.
Now, Christina, if someone wants to pursue this and has some more questions, how do they reach out to you or a member of your team?
Yes, I'm going to actually put it in the chat for everyone and then I'll read it out loud as well.
Great.
So we have a great team of folks over at admissions. And while I'm doing that, I also want to give a little shout out to someone on our team that I was put a note that I wanted to make sure I mentioned him. Scott Radcliffe is not in admissions, he's in the program office, but he is the one who is responsible for why the practicum even exists. So I want to give him a special shout out. And when I talk to students about our program, I always mention that we have real industry partners in our program, and he is someone who's been doing this as an industry partner in the workforce for a very long time. So he's the one responsible behind getting these companies and organizations to work with our students. So I wanted to not make sure I forget about Scott because he is a true pioneer in our program. In terms of the application process and who to contact for admissions for further questions, the contact can be Allison Anderson. She is my counterpart on our team. I think I put in her Emory email address, but that's fine. She can be reached at allison.anderson2@emory.edu. And I also linked in MSBA events as well. So we have lots of online sessions. We'll have some in-person things coming up where you can really experience the class and see Jesse live and in action. So yeah, I encourage you all to certainly check out our application, contact us here in admission, and also come see us for our events and sessions that we have for you online and in person.
Yeah, and let me reinforce that. I think the best way to determine fit and to see if you're going to really, if this program is for you is to actually visit if you can and do what was just recommended. Attend the class, be a fly on the wall, take a coffee with a student like Jesse, maybe even call an alum who is currently working in an industry that you're targeting. And go in with that sort of prep that Jesse suggested, whether it's taking some online classes in coding that will make you more comfortable so you're not shocked and surprised when you enter the program and you're well prepared to do well in it. And again, the website is a great resource. Goizueta is one of the gems of the business school community. It's a first-rate, world-class business school with terrific programs, great faculty, and terrific students. And one of the keys to evaluating programs like this is going online and making sure that the school publishes an employment report. And if you go online, you will find on the Goizueta website the employment report, which is very thorough. The median base salary for graduates is 95 grand. The median signing bonus is 7,500. 90% of the students get jobs within 6 months. And there's a complete detail on where the jobs are coming from through internships or job postings or the Goizueta network. It's really useful and very helpful. So let me just thank you, Jesse, and thank you, Christina, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Getting light on the Masters in Analytics program. And Jesse, good luck to you at Estee Lauder and completing your degree. I'm sure you're going to have a great practicum come January, which will be another thing to add to your resume.
Yes, thank you so much.
And for
Thank
all
you,
of you out
John.
there, yes, thanks for watching. Check it out. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants.